Sparkle query where you actually just tell me all of the predicates that are in this data set. You're shaking your head. I'm so glad to hear that I'm not the only one that sort of investigates data this way. And I think it's why a lot of the tools that we're seeing for exploring data, the first thing that they do is they sort of blow the data apart and they try to create a whole bunch of facets so that you can actually walk through the data and try to understand the relationships between all of these elements. But even though that's challenging and I think that's novel, it's very interesting because we come in contact with vocabulary all the time. And my favorite example is Twitter. If you're familiar with Chris Tucker in Rush Hour, it's like, words are supposed to convey meaning and you're supposed to take action based on these things. Well, it turns out that Twitter has a vocabulary which anybody who has been a part of the Twitterverse for, more than 15 or 20 minutes starts to understand. And so, the Twitter vocabulary is incredibly simple, right? You start with things like @ tags. I start to understand that @ tag means that this is a person, that there are things like short URLs out there that resolve to things that are not actually that thing, but actually redirect me somewhere else. And that there are these hashtags out there that are sort of these general buckets of content that people are putting together. And I think, what's interesting is that you can view these just like you view any sort of semantic vocabulary, right? You can pivot on these things out of any of these data sets. So I can actually go and look and see what this person said, or I can pivot on the short URL. And the fun part about the short URLs is that I get a whole bunch of metadata about sort of who else is actually pivoting on this thing. It's not just that it's sort of, some opaque identifier. And that, when you actually pivot on the hashtag, you see sort of this ranging conversation that's taking place. And I think this hashtag is actually one of the most interesting things that's out there. This is a completely user-generated invention.